Hello and welcome.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing because I just thought of something funny. Well, we were laughing before we started recording, and I'm like, all right, get it together, right?
Oh, she's slapping her face.
It made me think of, so I had to get some dental work done yesterday.
Oh.
And I was listening to headphones, and Fortune Feimster, I was listening to her on Tig Notaro's show. Mm-hmm. And I was laughing so hard as my mouth is open and there's like a fucking drill in there, and I'm thinking like I should not be listening to this because they probably think I'm crying because it hurts.
Gas.
I was laughing. She's so funny to me.
Yes.
And I've met her a handful of times. She's a lovely person, but my God, between Tig and her, I'm like, why did I choose to listen to this with my mouth open? That was pretty funny.
They just thought you were insane from the drilling.
My dentist is amazing. He's hilarious. So.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Nice. Well, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. As the title suggests, we're going to talk about the Omen franchise, such as it is, today on the show.
We are. I have so many thoughts about this whole franchise.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking about like each movie. For me, the Omen franchise entails 5 movies plus the first Omen that's going to come out at some point.
Yeah.
So the Omen, Damien Omen 2, Omen 3, The Final Conflict, Omen 4, The Awakening, and the remake.
Yeah.
The Omen from 2006. So those are the movies we're going to talk about. I have to tell you, my general feeling was that, you know, I watched The Omen whenever back in the day. Mm-hmm. Not when it first came out, but whenever it was later in the 80s or 90s or whatever. And I enjoyed it. I have a bias towards these kinds of religious horror anyway. So it lives in the lexicon of creepy children for me.
The original Omen?
That's what I'm talking about.
Is really a good movie.
Yeah. And so I guess my general feeling is like, it's a very good movie. And I honestly have to say I wasn't aware there was a quote unquote franchise of this. That's because that's a term that's really been coined very recently, honestly, in the last 20 years or whatever. So that was never something I was thinking about. I think that this is the first time I saw a lot of these movies.
Yeah, I knew of them because, and I've mentioned this on the show before, my mother is one of the biggest reasons I'm into horror. And this was the original Omen. Well, one, she was in love with Gregory Peck, so she would watch anything.
I mean, yeah.
But also, I remember this being one of the first movies she introduced me to. And then how she talked about the other ones that she saw. She's like, nothing compares to this first one. She also loves Sam Neill, which is probably why she saw number 3, because let's be real. In my opinion, they shouldn't have ever made another one after number 1.
Right, so we'll get into that. But first, today, we are going to do some
Omen Facts with Cat.
Omen Facts with Cat. I love that.
Or horror facts with the Omen. I don't know how else to say that. Number 1. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Just getting her little notebook out.
The notebook was stuck.
I appreciate how serious you take this.
I do.
Number 1, the character of Damien was actually going to be named, and I'm going to give you 3 choices. David, Domlin, or Dominic.
My favorite part about the multiple choice is always to find out which ones you made up.
Okay.
Number 2.
What tragedy happened to Gregory Peck shortly before filming began?
Okay.
What Oscar nomination category was a win for the original film?
Okay.
Number 4. What is the one major hole in the first Omen that is lost on the majority of the audience?
Like a plot hole?
Yeah, something that you're like, I don't know if that adds up. But they cover it well.
Gotcha.
And true or false, number 5, Damien was originally going to be blonde. Not blind, blonde.
Okay. That would be fine. You know.
If he was blind or blonde?
Blonde.
Oh.
Thank you for the facts, or, well, just the questions, really, at this point.
Those really are just questions that make you think, don't they? They're making you think.
Okay. So the first movie
They make me think.
They what?
They make me think.
Okay. Yeah, they're kind of fun to look up and figure out, right?
Yeah, they actually are.
I bet. And we've been doing some targeted facts this year, meaning specific to the franchises or whatever, which I would imagine is pretty fun too.
It's fun, and it's actually a hell of a lot easier because I don't get stuck down these rabbit holes.
You're like, whoop, that's not the Omen. Can't go there.
I'm like, oh, okay, circus freaks. Get lost in weird shit.
So The Omen is a 1976 supernatural horror film directed by Richard Donner and written by David Seltzer. It has Gregory Peck, Lee Remick, who was very famous at the time, and all kinds of other delightful people. And I like this movie quite a bit.
I love this movie. And I think that it's so well done because even though we don't have the satanic panic as much as it once was, this stands simply because the child is so believable and the story is put together well.
That kid is so well cast. And I honestly think that this movie is great because of Gregory Peck as well. Like, he's just...
I have a fact for you that's not in our 5 facts.
Okay.
So I think it's kind of fun to, well, maybe this isn't that fun to imagine, but the little boy who was cast got the role because the director, Richard Donner, was like, I need you to attack, I think it was Gregory Peck, in the audition. And he was so believable, and he just like went fucking crazy that they're like, okay, he's got it. I mean, he's the devil.
We're all scared of you.
Yeah.
As long as he can control it, then he's hired.
Yeah.
Which obviously he could. I can attack you on cue. Excellent.
I guess he was, I have it here, the little boy at the end screaming for his, oh, yeah. Sorry, this was another thing about the first one, too. That scene at the end when he's like, Daddy, don't do it, Daddy, or whatever he's saying. It like rips at your heartstrings because all of a sudden for a moment you're having empathy and you're like, you fucking devil. I know what you're doing. But he switches as a little actor, as a young actor. Man, he was convincing.
He was. I think he's got the grimace down. All the pictures you see of him are just like him kind of furrowing his brow at you.
Yeah.
Like you would imagine Satan looking down his nose at you.
Satan is a little shit.
Like,
yeah.
What kind of smell do you have? Just like not good. But anyway, good movie. I think, terrifying in the way that 70s movies can be terrifying these days. They're not as terrifying as they were in, watching them in the 80s and 90s or whatever, or in the 70s, obviously. But there's a real creepy factor to them. A lot of them, we've talked about a ton of 70s movies on the show, and I do love that period of time, and there's just so many solid movies, and this would be on my list. For sure.
One of the things that I thought they utilized well in this first one too is the use of animals and the Rottweilers that were there to protect him. But what fucking zoo allows you to drive through?
Not nowadays.
That scene where they're going through the baboons, I'm like, I don't ever remember getting in my car at a zoo and driving through it.
Yeah.
Into like the live, that was bizarre to me.
It happened. You could do that back in the day.
That's crazy.
I know, right? Well, welcome to whatever, the 1960s and 70s.
It's a good one though, and it's creepy. And but yeah, the dogs, the use of the dogs as his watcher, and then just the backstory of he being raised by Satanists. That whole plot line of like all of these loyal Satan worshipers who were there and brought in to watch him even after he was adopted. Like, just it's done so well. The story's so thick.
It is. I think my positive list for it would be the decapitation is still incredibly solid and scary and awful. The other deaths, the priest, the wife, the this, the that. The wife doesn't die, but all the different things, the nanny, it's all incredibly creepy in that sort of satanic follower possession kind of way. And I really love that. I would have been a huge fan of Gregory Peck back in the day, of course. The tricycle scene, of course, it comes about an hour in. Iconic. I do want to say that it lags in the middle. If you're watching movies with a contemporary sensibility, it does sort of lag in the middle where they're trying to figure out where it's going to go. But I really do like that they bring sort of the photographer into the story as a partner with the dad to figure out what's going on. So I like that part of it, but it does take that sort of middle, like, okay, we got to get through this story part before we get to anything better. And then I would say that, they make women really annoying in horror movies in the 70s. And this is no exception.
Well, it's just like Rosemary's Baby. I mean, they're just this pathetic, vulnerable, relying on everyone outside of them to take. They're infantilized. Yeah, they're and needy, all of it.
So I just want to mention that we're really aware of it. We still love the movie.
Yeah.
But that if you're watching horror movies in the 70s, women are just really annoying, and they make us really annoying in the movies. At least it's annoying to me with my 2023 sensibility. So, all right, Omen 2. Damien, okay. Omen 2, 1978. Yeah, you tell us your thoughts, Kathy.
Well, I mean, this one was fine. I think that it really just gives you the story about who Damien. It's really all about Damien. He finds his power. Where at the beginning, when he figures out who he is, he really doesn't want it until he realizes what he can do with it. He kind of rejects it. And then when he leans into it, just like anybody who comes into too much power, then, this becomes a tragedy. I think this movie really leans more to, like, it's about his evil ways and less story, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Like, it was just all these really big lightning and thunder moments that he's like killing people and he finds his power, and it gives us this backstory of how after his mother dies and he gets sent away because essentially he kills everybody in his life. So now he's at this boarding school and he's adopted by another family. It's just now he's older. Now he's like, 15, 16 years old, and you're getting him at that time, and he's starting to understand who he is. So I thought the idea behind it was good. I think they could have done a lot more with it and gone into a different direction, but I just feel like it was a bunch of like explosions and people dying and less about, it wasn't as story driven, I don't think.
Yeah, my note says dramatic from the start.
Yeah, it was.
It's what you're saying.
I was like, nah. Okay.
There's like an old hysterical woman.
God.
There's that crone character that's the old hysterical, doomed, that character.
Yeah.
The crow attack, LOL.
Yeah.
And then the elevator, LOL. Like there were some moments in this that were so dramatic that I did laugh out loud.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, yeah. Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And then I didn't quite hold together that he doesn't know he's the Antichrist, but then he uses his powers very effectively. And then it's like, then he Well,
he finds out he's the Antichrist.
I know, but he was still using his powers. Not
before
knowing.
Yeah.
In a directed, effective way.
Yes. Talk about holes.
That didn't make sense for me. But
no.
Whatever.
Yeah, it was fine. It gets worse, in my opinion. Yeah,
so let's move to Omen 3, The Final Conflict, which is the Sam Neill one. And this, the beginning of this jives with the overall story because it's 1981, but 2, Damien was destined to be a politician from the beginning. So this is the one where he's a political adult. And I think one thing that contemporary audiences have to realize when they watch this, it was 1981. And in the 70s and 80s, there was an idea that the president had a lot of power and that they were the ultimate power. We might not think that anymore. So it was a different time with that. Like that was the height of, I'm going to control the world by being president, whereas that's not really how we look at it these days.
And we also know that through even, Christian authors like LaHaye and Jenkins and all of that, when they've written about the Antichrist. He's always the president. He always becomes the president or some large political figure that the world just falls in love with.
Right. And I think culturally we're not doing that as much anymore because we don't feel that way about the presidency anymore. So,
but anyway. It would, and I think there's also a little tongue in cheek around just the political. Yeah. The Antichrist would be a politician. Yeah. I mean, for me, it picked up a little bit more in the second half. I found it to be a little bit more interesting. The beginning was pretty boring, in my opinion.
I wrote, this one's dull as fuck.
It's super fucking dull.
That was my review.
It took the last 20 minutes for me to there's a little bit of excitement happening.
And these are 2-hour movies. So I'm sorry, but the last 20 minutes doesn't do it for me.
No, it was horrible. But I was like, okay, at least, there's something here at the end. I'm not just slowly rolling off this hill. But, God.
I mean, Sam Neill did a good job and all that.
Oh, Sam Neill was, I can't remember why he was picked, but there's some story around how he was cast. He's a great actor.
Yep.
But it wasn't a great movie.
It wasn't Jurassic Park.
It was not Jurassic Park. It was not Dead Calm, which is another great one he was in.
Yeah. Tune in for lots of newborns being murdered.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of baby boys.
And dogs who kill, apparently.
Lots of rots.
All the dogs in the world are controlled by Satan,
right.
And they will kill you.
And Rottweilers are the sweetest pup.
I know, but controlled by Satan, Kathy.
Oh.
So
sometimes I wonder if one of my dogs is controlled by Satan.
I wonder about that.
Yeah.
I wonder that about your dogs as well.
Yeah, yes. Okay, my God, Omen 4. I fucking hated this little girl with everything in me.
Yeah. Omen 4, we change antagonists.
So at the end of Omen 3, sorry, spoiler alert, turn it down if you don't want to hear this, but really honestly, we're saving you the time.
Yeah,
okay?
It's okay.
He has sex with this woman at the end of 3. So it implies that at the beginning of 4, this woman gives birth to the new Antichrist, which I really don't think this is how it works, because the Antichrist wouldn't have died, but he dies. Sam Neill dies at the end of 4. So then she gives birth
at the end of 3.
At the end of 3.
Got it.
4 starts, and she's now the child that gets adopted, and she's now the Antichrist. Again, I don't think it works that way, but her performance, I wanted to put my boot through the TV because she was so annoying to me.
She was awful. Not in that way that the original Damien child is awful, horrible. You are conflicted, right? You're conflicted, but you have empathy for this child who's being possessed.
Right.
Or was born a demon, whatever it is, because they're born with the 666 on their person, so you could argue they're born into it, whatever, but you have empathy for that first Damien. This one, not so much.
Right.
And it's 1991, so we're very solidly late 80s, early 90s in the movie making, which is personally not one of my favorite eras. But
well, and the idea, and I understand that they're allowed to make their own rules, but the idea is the Antichrist is born because within his lifetime, it's going to be the end of the world.
Yeah.
So,
that's the mythology.
And so now he dies and his daughter is born and the saga continues, which to me, I'm like, it just didn't work. It was completely unnecessary. If they were going to do any of this, they should have kept it a trilogy and let it be.
I mean, it was called The Final Conflict, Omen 3, for a reason.
Yes.
They have him go out with a bang. And so, but the cash grab situation. But they still had the decapitation. There was still a decapitation. We're staying.
Did I zone out?
True.
When was that?
I thought there was a decapitation.
There might have been. This little girl pissed me off so bad that I'm sitting there going, I should not hate a child this much.
Yeah, there was stuff happening there, but I didn't like the way they did the main character either.
Sorry, I have a note here too that I forgot. The cheesy music, like it was a 90s comedy. Mm-hmm. It was weird. Like all of a sudden you're going, what genre am I watching? Mm-hmm. The best part was Ryder, the Rottweiler, the dog.
Oh,
he was the best part.
And he was in it a lot.
He was fucking cute. But this music that they chose, it was like that, you're trying to watch it and it's unparalleled to what they're trying to do. And I found it really like like dysregulating. I'm like,
I wonder if they didn't have much budget. No, it says music by Jonathan Sheffer. I'm just wondering if they didn't have much budget, and so they used a lot of, stuff that's already made, stock music or
maybe.
whatever. I don't know, but there is a music person, so
I don't know, man.
I don't know, man, either.
This just needs to go in the trash can. No one needs to see this.
Right.
God, it was bad. Why are they making another one?
Okay, so but we haven't.
I know the new one.
We haven't. No, we haven't talked about the fifth one,
That's
the
what I mean,
2006.
sorry.
Yeah,
The remake.
Okay, this is a shot-for-shot remake. If you thought 4 was meaningless, for me, 5 is meaningless. I'm not saying it's the worst movie you've ever seen, because they made an inspired choice in Mia Farrow. And I don't know how you feel about Liv Schreiber, but, it's controversial. Whatever you think about him as an actor, he's the main guy. But Mia Farrow is the nanny, so that's an inspired choice. She's amazing in it. But it is a shot-for-shot remake of the original. So, of course, it's not going to be that bad because the original was very well directed.
They just updated it. They made the beginning of it 9/11. So they made it look like that an end of the world kind of thing, right?
Yeah. What did you think of this movie?
It's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. Like when you do like you said, shot-by-shot remake of a movie that was really good, you have to really fuck it up to make it bad. So it was fine.
Yeah.
I just don't know why they did it.
This is my question.
But this is the beginning of that time where where they started doing all of the remakes. Because this was what year?
Oh, okay. 2006.
Yeah, remember they started remaking all of these movies from the 70s and 80s at this time.
I'm sorry.
Well,
They ran out of ideas.
And it was Julia, who was the wife again from 10 Things I Hate About You?
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, there was so much unnecessary filming.
Well, the idea is why did they do this? And I don't know. It's a cash grab. This is a cash grab. 4 was a cash grab. And I don't know what the new one will be. It's called The First Omen. I think it's a prequel to the Omen. So we'll see. A lot of times they go prequel because that is more palatable for us.
Well, and there's more to work with because what you're going to do, like this little shit grown up now and she's now going to die and have a kid?
They would just have to reinvent the whole thing. They just have to literally
I'm over it.
Okay.
It's horrible.
The first movie's great.
They bastardized the rest of the franchise.
Oh, wow. Very passionate.
I mean, Omen's just such a classic. Leave it. Leave it. Leave it alone. Leave it.
Would you like some answers to the
Omen Facts with Carol?
I know I would.
Oh, Christ. Let me find them. Okay. Number 1. The character of Damien was actually going to be named David, Domlin, or Dominic.
Dominic.
Domlin, after, this is kind of funny. This is quoted, after the obnoxious brat child of a friend, Seltzer's wife said, "We can't do that. It would end the friendship." All right, so we're going to have to pick a different name.
Oh, well, I like that they wanted their friends more than the name in the movie.
Isn't that funny? Like that little shit that lives next door, that's the Antichrist right there. And the wife's like, I understand.
Okay, but
we probably shouldn't.
I think they're going to notice.
And want royalties.
Yeah, right.
Number 2, what tragedy happened to Gregory Peck shortly before filming began?
I don't know. Did he harm himself? Did he get in a car accident?
His son died by suicide.
Oh, that's awful.
So Peck's agent encouraged him to take the role, thinking it would be good for him to get out of the house.
Jesus.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome. I always know how to keep it light and lift you up, Shannon. Number 3, what Oscar nomination category was a win for the original film?
Music?
Jerry Goldsmith's score won Best Original Score.
It's a great score.
It is. Number 4, what is the one major hole in the first Omen that is lost on the majority of the audience?
It's lost on me, so I don't know.
If Damien had a birthmark, they would have seen it on his head when he was born. He had no hair.
Unless it grew there as he grew in his
demony that's the way they'd probably
ways.
explain it. But again, that doesn't make sense.
Well,
Number 5, true or false, Damien was originally going to be blonde.
false?
True.
Okay.
Yeah, think like Village of the Damned.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense to me. It wouldn't have mattered to me either way. Blondes are evil.
Blondes have more fun.
They're evil.
You're evil.
Winning. Thank you so much for listening. I'm enjoying the franchise watches because there are a lot of bad movies I hadn't seen, and so
Really, we're going through them. Now we can at least say we've seen them all.
I mean, and then it's done, man. And then you know the ones you like, and you can 6 of this and 3 of that and 4 of that. You can speak from, I don't know, at least one watch, because some of them
You can.
I ain't watching again.
I will say, since Saw 10 has come out, I'm like, I just can't do that right now. I just watched 9 of them.
Yeah, I haven't watched it quite yet, but I'm gearing up. By the time this episode airs, I probably will have watched it. But watch our social medias for our independent, singular reviews. And then also we're going to do a lot of singular reviews and movie reviews and stuff for our mini cast that's associated with our Patreon. But we will still be here. And we will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Terror Talk. My name is Shannon.
And I'm Kathy. Sleep safe, everyone.